Mohammed Hijab's not having a good year. Things are finally catching up with him. He lost a nearly $1 million US court case for false defamation. But he's probably happy because he wants you to forget about his hotel wife and how he used and abused her, how he used her for sex and then threw her to the side like a piece of trash. We don't want to let him forget. If you don't know, Muhammad Hijab's ex-wife was trying to get in touch with David Wood and I for many months. We just didn't notice because of all the messages we get. Fast forward to 2025, we actually scored an interview with her. Now, why would a Muslim woman reach out to non-Muslims for help? Think about that. Isn't that an interesting observation? Well, she's going to explain to you. It turns out we weren't the first people she reached out to. She reached out to a whole lot of Muslims who didn't help her, so she came to us. And by the way, the full interview is linked in the description below. Let's get into it.
So just to clarify, you're saying that last year when you tried contacting me and Abdullah, it was because you'd tried contacting a bunch of Muslim leaders and scholars, and for whatever reason they weren't willing to help, either because they agreed with hijab or because they're scared of hijab. They don't want to be attacked by hijab because we know how he responds when people criticize him, or they just don't want to get involved. But you tried finding people to help. You couldn't find anyone, and then you're basically looking for people. Okay, who is willing to say something about hijab? Oh, that would be like Abdullah or David or someone like that. So I should talk to them, because you've got this issue that women in the ummah are being sexually used and exploited, and you realize you have to let people know somehow. You have to let people know somehow. And so you're basically saying, hey, even if I have to talk to these guys, I people need to be aware of this. And if these guys are going to help me get the information out there, then I would even contact them. Then you fortunately got in touch with Behind the Veils guys, and they did an awesome job. In fact, I can't think of anyone on the planet who would do a better job than they did. I didn't like they blew they
Absolutely.
blew they blew my mind with how like perfect everything they did was. So hats off to them. But then you're pointing out that even after Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa have been completely exposed, that you would basically think, oh, all their lies have been exposed. Now the ummah and now our Muslim leaders and so on are going to take note and expose these guys and condemn what they've done and give a warning to Muslim women about how people like this are going to treat them. But you're looking and it's just like they're just being quiet about it still. And so it's like they're still, even after these guys have been exposed, everyone's still just being quiet about it, and no one's doing anything, and no one's helping the women. And so now you're even in a position where, okay, you're kind of back to, I'll tell anyone who's willing to have a conversation about this what's going on, in order to inform women about what's happening. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to raise this flag once again. I wanted to make this voice heard, make this voice higher. There was absolutely no actions from serious action from any part of any sheikh or scholar to correct the teachings hijab was spreading. And except for one singular Muslim channel that dissected the teachings and his talks in podcasts, and he started providing Islamic resources to refute those teachings. So we are not only here talking about like Muslims and how they are being treated, Muslim women, how they are being treated, and so on. This is a scandal at a grand scheme. We all have to gather together to fight any kind of abuse, abuse of authority, abuse of power, any kind of abuse. And it's just like really good and it's very productive. And as I said before, it's a role model for our offspring to come to terms to understand what is right and what is wrong in terms of things that we have on in common grounds. Yeah, so I believe it's extremely essential for us to work harder on this. And if I've got absolutely any kind of opportunity to fight, take this fight and do the right thing, I would.
And it's really interesting what you kind of mentioned, that this can be like a general problem of, I would say, like manipulators. And matter of fact, this is no Jordan Peterson has talked about this, but that you have people who are manipulators, you have narcissists, you have psychopaths, and so on. But Peterson points out that those kinds of individuals, they work themselves, they work their ways into communities where they're safe because they can use those communities to shield them from criticism, because it'll be like a community that is they're focused on something they love, and you can use their love for some institution or something like that to get them to keep quiet about things. So like this happened in the Catholic Church famously a couple decades ago, where there were these sexual abuse scandals, but people didn't want to speak out because they didn't want the church to get a bad reputation. So they would just kind of try to deal with things quietly behind the scenes or something like that. And then whatever priest or whatever was doing this, they would just send him off somewhere else, but then he'd keep doing it. And so people finally realized, no, we can't. Even though we love our church, we can't keep quiet about this because we're enabling abusers. We're helping abusers get away with it. We can't do that. So even though it's going to hurt, and even though it's going to hurt the reputation of something we care about and we love,
Yes,
we have to do it anyway, or this continues, and we're sending a bad message to abusers that you can get away with it here. This is the place where, if you really love something, you should not want it to become the place where abusers can get away with abusing women or children or anything else. You don't want it to become that. And so I would say, like, the Dawa scene right now, from the perspective of like a manipulator or an abuser, is like, ooh, this is great. I can go there, I can get a big following, and I can do whatever I want, and no one will ever call me out or expose me because they're too worried about hurting Islam. And so all the Dawa fans will jump on a person who tries to blow a whistle and expose something. And so this is a great place to get away with abusing women. That should not be the reputation that you want. It should be, this is the place where abusers will not make it. But it's kind of,
absolutely.
yeah. So
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, no,
I agree.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think we all agree on this. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
good for us to take this fight and fight on common grounds against what is wrong, basically. Yeah, and you are right.
Yeah.
They are exploiting their positions, and unfortunately, we would like to bring out change. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, Thaddeus,
Yeah,
I say,
I agree.
oh, go ahead, Thaddeus. Go ahead, Thaddeus. I was gonna ask everyone to sort of share their initial thoughts, but Thaddeus is the one who's gonna keep me
Uh-huh,
online and keep
uh-huh.
me from talking too long, and he's gonna make sure we get through
Yeah,
everything on it.
I was gonna say that I agree with the principle that if I'm criticizing Islam or criticizing anyone's beliefs, that it should be from an intellectual standpoint, and that is my natural approach to things. But unfortunately, once I got interested in Islam, I quickly discovered that the let's say the state of dialogue was such that you get a lot more people listening if you approach things in a certain way, a certain aggressive way. You get a lot more people who are willing to listen. And since I want Muslims to listen to what I have to say, I adopted that approach. But I agree that an intellectual approach would be preferable, and certainly no mocking here today from me. We will be looking at why here in a second, we'll be looking at why people like hijab have drawn me into engaging at their level. Let's put it that way.
Hey, yeah, Thaddeus, you do make an interesting point in that it's kind of like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with me. Like when I started out, and you could go back to 2005, 2006, and so on. I would present any information I thought was relevant, but I did it respectfully. So I would talk about, Muhammad and his relationship with Aisha and so on in response to Muslim arguments, because Muslims back then were arguing, preservation of the Quran and scientific miracles and so on. But one of their main arguments back then was Muhammad's character is so perfect that he has to be from God. And so I didn't know how to respond to the argument without actually just going through and saying, okay, do you believe this is morally perfect? Do you believe that's morally perfect? But I would be respectful. And I was telling other people back then, I had an article on Answering Islam saying, don't call Muhammad a pedophile. It's not adding anything to the argument. You're not making some great point by that. If you want to present the information and ask how they want to respond to that, then do that. But even then, back then, being as respectful as possible, but also presenting information that a lot of people didn't want to hear, didn't want out there. It was the response I would get from people online, the messages I would get was, we're going to kill you. We're going to do this to your wife. We're going to do this to your mom. We're going to do this to your kids and things. And that made me more aggressive. Their goal is to make me quiet, but the real reality was it made me be less nice to you. It made me be more aggressive towards you. But it's actually when we get to Mohammed Hijab where another shift happens. Where when Hijab came along and I saw people like rallying around him, it was before then I thought, oh yeah, you have these aggressive types and these guys who are threatening to kill me and stuff like that. Let me respond to them. I'm going to respond to them, and I'm going to be mean and brutal when I'm responding to them. But I still thought like other Muslims are nice and stuff like that, and they don't agree with this. And it was with Mohammed Hijab where I realized this is actually very widespread to
Yeah, no, absolutely.
cheer for the guys who are insulting and threatening and so on. And that's when it kind of changed where I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to be nice anymore unless I'm talking to a specific person who's being respectful. And like, well, I will be totally respectful with you all day, every day. And when I'm responding to Muslims who are nice and respectful, then that is how I prefer to be. But it's just, yeah, there's a lot of people with a lot of negativity, and so yeah.
If you like content like this and want to see more, I love talking about women's issues in Islam, as well as other social issues created by this unjust system. So please subscribe and turn on the notifications.
I agree with you. I personally do oppose any kind of blasphemy, whether it's coming from a Muslim or otherwise. Any towards any kind of faith, whether it's Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam. I do hold the same standard in regards to this approach. And you are right. There are so many du'ats they are very mocking. They are mocking. They are disrespectful. They are mocking other beliefs. And I oppose that. I don't subscribe to that, and I oppose that. I think that's a very bad approach. I think people have to be respected, like especially like for example with brother Abdullah and sister Huda. She any person who like he's got their questions, they've got their situation, like in regards to Islam, like they shouldn't be attacked in a way where like you were always an imposter, or like you've never been a Muslim before. And I have seen this kind of pattern. In fact, this pattern is used even against whistleblowers, like for example Imam Nick. Anyone who comes out with some kind of criticism, or like would like to bring out a change that is positive, unfortunately even these kind of people, they get attacked. And I am here today because I would like to create this change. I don't subscribe to these things. I do not believe that these things are part of Islam. I am here to highlight Islamic teachings that I believe in. And I think in this particular case, we all agree about this ethics. We all are opposing these kind of practices.
I think it's interesting. Everyone here. So the 3 on screen and the 2 off screen. What we all have in common is that we're all consistent on this issue. In other words, it's okay if you're setting the bar here, then don't complain when I set the bar here. Like me, I'm okay. Wherever you want to set the bar as far as what we're doing, then I will react accordingly. You're consistent, and you're saying, hey. We shouldn't be mocking, and you shouldn't be mocking, and so we shouldn't be mocking and insulting. So you're consistent. The difference with like Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawa and these guys, they actually want a world where they get to heap insults and threats and abuse on other people, but everyone else just is super respectful and nice in response. And when that doesn't happen, they lose their minds, and they don't get it. It's like, hey, if you want people to be respectful towards you and your beliefs in a conversation, that you should be as respectful as possible. And so I'll say, like when I blast away at Muhammad or the Quran or something like that, I get that I'm forfeiting the right to say, be nice to me in response. It never crosses my mind to say, hey, you're being mean to me in response. Like, okay, I understand I'm being mean. I know why I'm being mean. And so I'm going to be consistent. It's fair is fair. If I'm being mean, then you can be mean in responding to me, and so on. But anyway, yeah, that's what bothers me most about. Well, that's not what bothers me most, but it bothers me a lot that these guys they do want a world where they get to treat people one way and everyone else has to treat them with respect. And it's kind of a parallel to you, right? They get to treat you horribly, Aisha. They get to treat you horribly, and you're supposed to respond with nothing but admiration and respect for all of them and to keep all this quiet. And it's like, guys, you don't get this world that you want. If your behavior is terrible, it's going to come back on you. It's going to come back on you.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely.
okay.
I think we all have got our own ethical paradigm, and I do greatly appreciate today that you have set conditions to host this meeting, like avoiding mockery of Islam or all sorts, and based on my request, and this was my condition in making this meeting, because obviously I am still Muslim. And just to highlight that I had questions that were created from the trauma that I have gone through. However, I'm still navigating my faith. I'm still looking into things contrary to how I have been attacked and claimed to be an imposter and an enemy of Islam, someone who's been plotting, and attacking Islam in hiding. And by the way, an enemy of Islam is description. It's not an insult, just for clarity. It's a description that describes someone who disagrees with Islam, and they are attacking Islam, criticizing Islam in a way.
Mhm,
And it was not nice, because obviously I am a Muslim and I'm navigating my faith. So yeah, so
mhm,
I think it's good that we are able to go through this conversation today.
mhm. Yeah, and and we'll go ahead and start going through some video clips and covering the main issues. Before we do, haven't heard really from Abdullah and Huda, so why don't you guys give your sort of initial thoughts on anything we've been talking about as far as like as far as the respect and versus mockery
Sure.
issue, and on basically in general on the topic we're about to address with Mohammed Hijab. So whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, ladies first. Huda.
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, so I do have some thoughts. So, as somebody who was once a believer, first I want to say that it is never my goal to try and convince somebody to leave their faith. That's something very personal, and Sister Aisha knows this about me. Um, I have no desire to make that happen. What I care about is the fact that she's my sister in humanity. And like David said, these guys want to hurl abuse and insults at you, and they just want you to go away. So that's why I've been so invested in this story from the beginning, because I knew that she was telling the truth, and I know what they want to do. They want her to shut up and go away. And I don't want her to shut up and go away if she doesn't want to, right? And she doesn't. She wants to talk about this. She wants to tell her truth, right? So that's why I'm here. I'm here as her sister in humanity, to be here for her and help her speak her truth.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Well said.
Of
Just
course.
one thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay, I was just gonna add. Yeah, I won't really focus on the whole like mocking and criticizing Islam and stuff because there's a time and place for that. But I do want to say one thing. I think David, you said it really well, and I'm just gonna like kind of add to that, which is that we have atheists, Christians, we have a Muslim here, and we have my wife who's non-religious. All of us, we're all here together for one woman who is Sister Aisha, and we want to help her. And the reason for that, in my case, is because I feel like there was harm done to you, right? And very clear harm. And what I've seen is that Aisha, you respected Muhammad Hijab, and you just wanted a relationship with him, and it didn't work out. He did what he did, and what you did is you did the right thing. You told the truth, but he lied. Then he doubled down, then he tripled down, then he quadrupled down, and he's gone and to more and more of an extent of lying and like covering up his tracks and trying to trick people and blackmailing. And there's all of this, like he's using all of his power. Is 1 million. I mean, when you have a platform, I have 100,000 subscribers with my wife, I take that seriously. There's some, responsibility here that I don't want to harm anybody. But he doesn't care. He's like literally using all of his power that he has as clout, and he's bulldozing his way through trying to destroy you and trying to basically remove any possibility that people will believe you. Everything from conspiracy theories about who's trying to get him, Elon Musk, to we'll go through all the details. But just wanted to point out that again, the humanity kind of angle here, that obviously David and Thaddeus have the Christian angle of why they're doing this. I'm not a believer in anything, but I do think that this is wrong what happened. So I'm going to take the time to go through this. Obviously, we have, I believe there's an Islamic angle, but we won't touch that today. We won't talk about the Islamic sort of perspective, but we will talk about the human perspective. And yeah, so that's my take. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're basically, well, I think we're all agreeing that there are things that we can all agree on. Christian, and it is interesting. We have a Muslim, two Christians, an atheist, and an agnostic, all in complete agreement. It's kind of cool. Hijab, Mohammed Hijab. You have united the world in agreeing that you're behaving terribly and you need to be exposed, and that this needs to be stopped.